What is this, a crossover episode?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Creator Summit 2024.
Yeah.
The GoPro.
Big shout outs to UVS Games for having us all out here. We literally just got back from dinner. And we just wanted to give our first initial impressions. What did we do over the weekend? And my memory is very fuzzy. And so I'm probably going to be tossing this hat to other people to explain what happened. But basically, we all showed up in Vegas on Friday night. And then we had a big keynote speech that happened throughout the entire day where we talked about the new designs of Attack on Titan. We saw a ton of cards. We saw previews for the next IP. We saw our next sets. We saw all the art. It was incredible. And then we decided not to do a Q&A section and interrupted everybody a lot with a lot of questions.
We skipped the demo specifically.
And we skipped the demo specifically. We had a demo section that was supposed to be here. And so basically what I want to do now for everybody at home is give you a bit of a primer about the conference as a whole, like a quick little 2 seconds, and then we're going to dive in nice and deep. We're going to call this Roses and Thorns. Roses, what did you like? Thorns, what did you not like? What could be better about the thing? And so starting off, my roses are the fact that UVS Games was so down to host this conference for us, like the insiders as content creators, is very cool as a first step to some real communication to not just us, but as the play group. It felt like this was their test, their warm up, so that hopefully they can disseminate this information correctly. This is hopefully the first step in many steps of actual active communication. And my thorn of the event was we didn't get any OP stuff. Obviously Josh is super new, but like the only downside that I have is the guy who wasn't ready to present didn't present. Boo-hoo. Right? It's pretty fun.
I'm Dan from Main Deck, and I was really happy to be here just as someone who covers a lot of different card games and trying to bring my perspective into it as much as possible as well. But I've loved universes for many years, so my rose was that I've been uncertain about the future of universes. I'm sure there are people out there who share that sentiment as well for a while. And I can say going out of this event that a lot of my concerns have been assuaged, I think to a pretty good degree. Mostly just hearing the direction a little more candidly from the team, I think felt really good. It felt very reassuring. I feel like there's a lot of good potential that I just wasn't 100, just very cautious, right? I wasn't 100% sure for a little while. So I'm really happy to leave feeling that way. I was hoping to. My thorn is that came from a lot of changes that we're going to see implemented over time, and a lot of things that we're building into that. We will address that in the future. Here's the steps we've taken right now to build that, but we don't have the exact answer this moment. And I would really like the exact answer right now. Like I want to wait. I want to know right now what's happening. That said, I believe them when they say that. So
Nice. Well done.
Hi, I'm Brett, and I'm a card game holic. They got more.
Wrong meeting.
They got more laughs than Tom's truck jokes. That's better.
Yeah, we'll try.
Roses, it was just great to kind of humanize the UVS staff and get to see how passionate they actually are for the product and the game. Getting to hear like the amount of hard work that goes into everything that they're actually doing and that we don't get to see as players and content creators, and actually hearing how hard they're working for how quickly we kind of ridicule them.
Yeah.
But it was great to, especially, I know Zoe been on webcam weeklies, but we don't get to see that in UK. We don't get to, it never goes up on YouTube. So that was my first interaction, and she was an absolutely outstanding UVS member for me. I'm very looking forward to have more interactions in the future. Bill Stark was completely not like what I expected him to be. Took everything on the chin from like all the memes that people have been posting. So absolutely great, just getting to humanize this big company. Forms for me, still not clear on. They've still not made it clear on the future of communication with content creators outside of these kind of summits. I know people have been mentioning things like we didn't get told that there was no card reveals or anything from UVS in the past, and that wasn't really addressed here. So we're still kind of in purgatory as into how our relationship will progress with UVS. But as Tam said, this is a great step forward into establishing those communication needs.
Thank you. So Richard, I'm once a week, body prep for 2 hours. So like probably just similarly echoing the points, like it was good to sort of open those lines of communication with the guys in the company. And I think there's been a bit of like a communication black hole, and I think this is definitely the first step, and this is definitely like big steps towards opening that as sort of a content creator community, and to an extent sort of amongst ourselves as well, right? So hopefully going forward, maybe we can work together a lot, and that would be great. Bad sides, OP would have been great. It's understandable they weren't here. But apart from that, I mean, that's probably about it from my bad side. Like, it was just a really positive thing overall. Like in terms of when we get to the specifics, there's some stuff I'm really positive about, some stuff I'm a bit more skeptical about. But like, as a concept, I think this was a great thing to have. It'd be great to be going forward, maybe like do it once a year, and just keep that kind of back and forth between us and the company, so that we're doing what we love to do, and we're supporting them, and they can then support us. And I think, like I say, it's a great first step, and hopefully just builds up on that going forward. So, love it.
Yeah, my hero meta, Shock 2K5 all day, you know what it is. So the Roses is so hard to choose because there were so many things that, as a player, you're probably really concerned about right now. At this point, you guys have seen ALT stuff, you've seen a lot of things that we've just been shown today, but like, you still have questions, you still have concerns, you still don't know, is Bill Stark evil or whatever? But so many of those questions were answered for me today, and I got so much confidence in the people at the helm more than the road that we're traveling. I trust the drivers that are making the decisions. I love that Zoe is commanding the art team with the way that they've taken a difficult project with AOT and turned it into something absolutely beautiful. It stunned me several times today. What was it? Roses and Thorns it was? Thorns
are prickly, you don't like them.
Yeah, well, that was nice.
Nasty.
Thorns is kind of echoing what Dan said. All the answers aren't on the table yet because there's a lot of work to be done. There's, growing from where they were to where they want to be is not overnight. There's concerns with from small things like Plus Ultra Packs not being a thing, and my players at my store specifically missed that, to larger concerns with like OP and France not having support or stuff. Like, there's just a lot of things that we wish we had the answer for today that we just don't, because life isn't magic. That's funny. But I think that we're on a good path though.
Hi, I'm Tim. I'm by far the most fraudulent excuse for a content creator on here.
That's not true.
We had to get somebody who actually could play the game well to be at the.
Yeah, it was one. Yeah.
He's fantastic at the game, actually.
He's alright.
Yeah. So my main was, I came into this. I was saying before this, right? I expect there's going to be things I hate and things I feel neutral about and things I feel positively about, and there's nothing I hate. Right, there's a number of things I feel like, all right, they can try that. I don't know if it's really gonna work or not, but whatever, they can try it, right? And then there's things I feel positive about. There's nothing I'm like, oh, that's definitely a bad idea. And so that is a pleasant surprise for me.
What a vote of confidence.
Well, that's how people felt about this.
Him.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
The thorn would just be. It's still, like, we know that this is true, but it was still weird hearing directly that, like, they talked about a couple times the different departments that, okay, we've got this art team, we built up this art team, this creative team, right? We built up this design team, and they talked about it, they used muscles as an analogy, right? We built up this muscle, we built up this muscle, we built up this muscle. And it is strange to me, and I don't know how on purpose this was or not, that the muscles that they waited till last to build up are the public-facing stuff that we all see.
Yeah.
Right, the stuff with marketing, communications, and organized play and stuff. And the way that's shaken out, it's not news at this meeting, but it is disappointing to like have it put in those stark terms that like, all the stuff that the public doesn't see, that we got to see a lot of today is great.
Yeah.
But like, it's gonna be that much longer before the average player that's just playing at their weeklies every week feels the same amount of confidence just because they're not seeing this side of it.
Yeah.
I'm Ty from Ty's House of Cards. My rose or roses, whatever. I will say, for just kind of piggyback off what Tim said, as far as just this is the first that they've ever done this, right? Like we haven't really had this pull from them to where they're like, hey, we want to hear what you really got to say. It almost felt like even when we make content or whatever, almost felt like it fell on deaf ears, right? And for the first time, I would say, kind of felt like we felt valued, right? And I think that was a real big plus. And honestly, the other rose is being able to just have an opportunity where we're us all content creators being around each other, right? We get to talk to one another, we get to physically see each other and get to know each other a little bit more than just through our content, right? And I just think that's a big plus because it's kind of being able to see the camaraderie that is needed to bring something that a lot of us are passionate about, because at the end of the day, we are passionate. We wouldn't be doing this if we weren't, right? Yeah. And so that was a big deal for me. Just how they but they really did go further out. And I'm pretty sure they're gonna maybe do even greater next time, right? Yeah. It was just kind of like last moment kind of thing, but the fact that they did it is, to me, speaks a level of like, okay, you really do want to shift something. A level of honor, right? Just honored, and it's really cool. So, shout outs to them. Shout out to you guys for everybody doing what they're doing. And I just felt like it was a real community. That was the roses for me, right? The smell of the rose, like, and it's a nice fragrance to have, to smell, right? Like, shoot. My thorns, honestly, it's probably the same thing. I'm ready to see what will happen, right? We can say all day, we're even talking about excitement, and you always see something, a new set comes out, right? And we're like, oh, then when the set drops, we're kind of like, ooh, right? There's certain things we're like, why did I not see that before? But it's because we didn't get to play something. We didn't get to like put it in action and really see. We always say it sounds good on paper, right? And then kind of find it. So I think the thorn for me is it's not a thorn, but I guess a concern is the maintenance. How consistent are we going to remain? Yeah. I think that's what we've been running into. A problem with everything dealing with the company and everything is the consistency. But some things could be on the boat, sure, and then there's some things that's just not. You acquire a company, boom, it's like cleaning stuff up, and it's not everything your fault. So I think that just kind of like wait and see, and I think it's that anticipation of what's going to happen is really what's there, but it's not really a thorn, it's just a concern. So overall, it was great.
David Toombs, Let's Talk UVS. I'm here as a content creator, but to me, I'm a competitive player first. And so selfishly, coming into today, I was thinking of possibly, rumors had gotten so crazy about Attack on Titan changes and that they could be so terrible, where all of our abilities are going to get removed. We're going to have very high deck building constraints, that I was looking at it as maybe I take a break from the game for a little bit, for Attack on Titan, and then they can make changes and I'll come back. But maybe I just take off Attack on Titan. So my biggest rose from today was just seeing the cards, selfishly, and seeing that this still feels like universes. We got some cool changes. We got some, attacks feel different, happen faster. You got the crazy difficulties checks, but we have cool arts. The enhanced step and the interactivity is still there in the game. And so my biggest rose was just all of the changes coming with Attack on Titan still feel universes. And like I'm excited to play. So in fact, I'll probably buy more Attack on Titan than any other set I've ever purchased. Like, there's a good chance I buy 2 cases of Attack on Titan. And coming in, I'm thinking I'm going to take I might take a break from the game, and now I'm going to double down and buy more product. My thorn is that Universes seems very wanting to be 2 years ahead of where they always are, so that we always have a solid product line. No ball is getting dropped with sets, but it comes to the downside of, to me, it feels like that their feet aren't where they are in the moment. And so, like Girl Power just recently, the reveals just got thrown on Facebook. We didn't get them as content creators. The communication over the last 2 months has been bad, to say the least, about Girl Power things. And like to me, it's like Girl Power got a lot less hype than it deserved. We didn't have a lot of marketing behind it. They said that they've just hired some people for the marketing team, and that the marketing team is building, and this is going to be something for the future. But it feels like maybe everybody in Universes was so focused on Attack on Titan that we had this Yu Yu Hakusho Girl Power's like 6-month period where we weren't getting as much communication. So that's something that I want to see change, is that I want to feel like the game is where we are as players.
I love that.
Because there's like a disconnect right now between players, and it felt like every UVS employee was like new stuff in 2027 that they couldn't tell us.
Yeah.
So good thing, that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing.
I'm Richard Cruz. I run the Chamber. I'm here giving Tim Keefe major competition for most fraudulent content creator. Everyone else is gone, and I could frankly build probably a bouquet of roses based on what they've all said. I think the cards are good. The artwork in particular is insane. Their creative team deserves major props. It's some of the best cards on the market, period. You'd be hard pressed to find like a better competitor on that front. As far as runs for me, mine's a little different than most of the other people. I think long term, a lot of the changes they talked about are good, and I would agree with everybody else. My personal big worry about this is short term, people seeing a lot of changes, because there's a lot, and we're going to talk about them, seeing the changes and deciding this isn't Universes, like you said. And again, perception is reality. Like, even if reality, these people have maintained the soul what makes Universes good. If the player base sees what happens and they don't believe that and don't give it a shot, then it doesn't matter if they put the work in. So, obviously we'll find out. I might be being paranoid 2 months from now. We'll have more information when the time comes. But yeah, that's my big thorn. Tim, I want you to start off with the next section.
Love it. So we're just going to jump into Universes 2.0, right? The new design ideas, the big ones, right?
I don't know if we just call this Universes 2.0 or the Attack on Titan style of universes.
Sure.
Some of which may become long term, some of which will stay in Attack on Titan, right? I think that's an important thing to point out, because the things that they have announced are not permanent. This is the way the game's going to be for the rest of the time, or even in 2025, right? These are mostly things they're doing for the Attack on Titan property as experiments, as flavor plays, and if some of them go really well, we'll see more of them, right? But one of the big overarching things that, like, even if you hate what they're doing, it's not permanent. You might as well try it, and if you don't like it, it might not stick around.
What's the thing that they're doing? Pick one thing.
Going into the specifics?
Yeah, so for instance,
There we go.
So Blitz is probably a long-term thing, but the Ruin keyword is an Attack on Titan thing. The notion of having these gigantor difficulty 4-check attacks could very well just be an Attack on Titan thing. Backups, probably going to be a long-term thing.
Yeah.
The shift mechanic, we'll see, right? And the symbols are an Attack on Titan thing, right? So some of the stuff that's probably more controversial is also more likely to be an IP only.
The attuned symbols, or
the attuned symbols are
lack
a
of
long-term thing.
symbols?
The lack of symbols is Attack on Titan. Yeah.
Love it.
To build on what Tim you said, and I think the parallels of calling this the Attack on Titan era of Universes is great, because we are behind our little wall with our free symbols and our enhances, and we're all comfortable, and then we've got the big bad UVS Titans outside that are going to kick down our doors and go, yeah, no, we're going to shake it all up a little bit and change your entire dynamic. And it's a case of like, yeah, we're going to have to deal with it and see what our new way of life is going to be.
Yeah, so I guess to go into maybe a bit more detail, for those at home, obviously we talked about a lot of things. So probably one of the main ones is, and a lot of the doom and glooming is about they're going to remove the enhanced step, right? That isn't true, but what they are doing is looking at attacks as a card and how we can maybe simplify them while keeping them interactive, but making them as a, and I think part of the reason for doing this is to make them an easier onboarding process, right? So attacks are an easier hurdle to get over, and it's just like the stage needs for enhances. So one of the big things they're doing is, in study for Attack on Titan, is there's no enhances on attacks, right? And again, you almost certainly have seen all this in articles and so forth, and most attacks have what's called a blitz ability, which is a thing that just happens at the beginning of the enhanced step as effectively a response to you, but it's not a response, and you just play the blitz and then go into the enhanced step.
So it doesn't even happen. Right, it doesn't even happen.
A show of hands before you continue. Who here likes the blitz idea?
Can I put 2 hands up? I'm putting 2 hands up.
Can I put like half up?
There's a neutral option.
Right. So hit me with.
I'll cover your half a hand.
Why is your hand not all the way up?
I'm cautiously optimistic because I think Blitz is very cool for newer players, and it does simplify that your attacks, as they said, get to do what they were designed to do. But at the same time, it simplifies the game to an extent of playing enhanced chicken, where like if I'm sat there with an ability that boosts my attack, and my opponent's sat there with a foundation that decreases my attack's damage, I'm sitting there going, okay, do I need to play around that? And my enhance allows me to that. So if I can get them to trigger Broken Psyche before I trigger Battle Law Release, I can get more damage in. If it was a blitz attack, it would all happen behind, then my opponent goes Broken Psyche down to 2.
Enhanced chicken is a sacred cow I'm very happy to kill. Chop that thing up at Fogo de Chao and serve it to us.
You got dark. Very dark. Oh, that was his.
I'll go ahead.
I mean,
Sorry.
no, you're good. You're good.
I mean, he's got the beanie, so.
Yeah, I have the beanie, sacred beanie. So I just want to say, very relevant to this, I literally just demoed the game to somebody using the Cowboy Bebop and Trigun Challenger decks. There's one of the staff members here at the lovely courtyard had like seen our presentation and peeked in and he saw like Godzilla, and he was like, literally, this was the exact scenario you want people to see in this game. He saw the IPs and he thought, wow, that looks really cool. I played some card games before. I want to check that out. The team actually gave him a couple of challenger decks, and we just went to town, and he came over and we said, hey, can I watch you play? And he said, let's do you one better. Let's just open them up and teach you.
Doing God's work.
I wish, speaking of God, I wish to God that I had blitz effects when I was doing that, though. Because
You're right, there was a lot of.
I mean, I had Spike Spiegel's double enhanced attacks, and I was like, well, you know, we gotta go through this. Like, you have these 2 options. You gotta use one. You can use one right now. You can use a different thing. Like, it may seem like a small thing, and I know there's gonna be people out there who are saying, it's such a, like, why not just make it a response and then still have my lovely enhances, like thing. It may seem like a small thing, but there is 100% an intuition to playing those with the blitz ability, where you see the thing, it does the thing, you can still play your enhances afterwards. Enhances going away, still going to be unfortunately some chicken that you're going to be playing, but it felt like just in that demo session, I wished I had them there. It would have been so much easier.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the enhanced chicken goes, I think that complexity isn't leaving the game because we put blitz in it, right? So like you have your character, you have your attacks. Usually you're gonna pump if you can't get your opponent to play that Broken Psyche and you have your Battle War Release, you're still gonna trigger the damage buff to force the Broken Psyche at some point anyway. Like you can't just let the thing stay up, you know. So like there's still gonna be a back and forth. There's still gonna be this, you know, doing things in the right order is still going to be extremely important, but simplifying the fact that, you know, most of the time we play attacks, 90% of the time we just play the effect on the enhance as long as the trigger is satisfied. Anyway, so it just makes sense, and it feels good when the company's doing things that make sense. Because a lot of times we've all experienced where, why is this happening? This doesn't make sense. And a lot of the things we heard today just made a lot of sense, especially with the tune symbols. That's just the best solution for a problem that just is just long past like being stupid. Ugh.
You guys all know what attune symbols do now. Raise your hand if you like the inclusion of attune symbols in the game. Why not?
I think it's that I want to see it in action still, right? That's what I said. It's the sound good thing, right? I like it, right? I'm like, I like it. I don't know yet, right? It's like it's conflicting, right? I can't really. For me, I don't feel like I can commit fully yet, right? I gotta see something more first. Let me just see what a deck building would be like with the attune. Now, I do think it's pretty cool as far as, I guess we're able to say more, right? Because we're talking about, so the fact of, characters like this, this is an attune character, and they're saying like characters with attune, you can't start with them. So it's like,
to be clear, so you've got resource symbols, which are the circles, which are on the characters.
Right.
Right, and every universe's card that's currently been printed has a resource symbol.
Right.
Any of the cards that have the square, the attacks, the foundations, the actions, the assets.
It's a swivel.
It's a square. It's a square. That is the attuned symbol.
Right.
Okay. So the way that it works for everybody at home as well is, let's pretend that you are playing, you played Genkai tonight.
Right. Okay.
She has all good and order.
Right.
You can take and you declare the symbol that you want to build with any resource symbol you want under the good symbol.
Right.
You can take with Genkai any good symbol card that has a resource symbol on it.
Mm-hmm.
Your character has those 3 resource symbols. You can now put any all attuned card in your deck, any good attuned card in your deck, or any order attuned card in your deck.
Yeah. Okay. So then, I guess with that, you know what it was? I think it was because of the example I saw on screen.
Right.
It was like, I'm confused what you're saying here, right? So maybe that's what
it could. Which also, like, we had a 8-hour-long presentation today. There might be an issue with attunes, right?
Right.
And the idea of deck building, you didn't get it.
Right.
Off the bat.
Right.
It's supposed to be for new player stuff.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. If I'm doing that, as long as that's clarified and everything else, I do think doing that though, because most people are like, well, I want to play this card, I want to play that card, but I can't because, I have to follow the symbol, and it's like, well, no, now we have a thing where you don't have to follow the symbol chain necessarily anymore. Sure. Just as long as it matches my character, I can run this cool card if it has an effect. Just real quick, just to touch on the blitz thing, I think, when you were talking about Dan, as far as wishing you had the blitz, right? And it's like, and I think that's why they're doing it also, right, to mitigate how much technically we could have just not used the enhance, right? You could be like, well, I don't need to show you too much. Here's this. But save you having to say that, right? Because you do have those players that go, well, what is that? And what is that, right? So you're trying to give them as minimum as possible, but because of their curiosity, it pushes, and blitz just goes, this is what it does, So that I think blitz is really interesting, though.
I just want to remark about that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had actually already blanked all the foundations in that game too. At that point, I was definitely already minimizing things, but
it is
you get
still
to the point where you put an attack out there, it's got a text on it. You can't really hide the text forever.
Right. That's what.
At some point, this guy's going to show up to a local.
Yes.
He's going to have to deal with this.
So we started when I did the demo just to reduce. Put the meme out there, reduce mental load. I was like, your foundations don't read the text on these. I'll tell you when you start reading text on your cards.
Yeah.
We put the attacks in there, and still I was like, okay, there's no other cards in play except these attacks and effects, and still was like, damn, this is a lot of stuff to try and get you to understand right now. And granted, I was using the challenger decks, which aren't necessarily meant for that, but if these challenger decks had blitz, I think it would have been easier. And I think it's points in favor of blitz.
You also didn't raise your hand.
Correct. So I like attunement as a solution to the situation where they want to put 6 symbols in the set and 1 symbol on every card. They didn't necessarily have to create that situation, and I don't know how much I believe that doing that is gonna really be valuable in the long run. I'm all for getting rid of some, like, people get mad. I'm perfectly happy to kill 3 or 4 symbols and just get rid of them.
Tim's always so sad.
I'm very aggressive in my willingness to simplify the game. I don't know if the overall net benefit of, like, okay, we're going to go down to 1 symbol per card, but we're going to make up for it by this attune system, which is adding some complexity overall, right? But this is going to let us push more symbol identities than we would be able to do if we put 2 symbols on cards. But, you know, when we build an all deck now, it's just going to get to completely violate symbol identity. Like, I don't know if that net package is worth it. I don't think it's actively harmful necessarily.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say I feel positive. I feel pretty neutral about it, right?
Yeah, I think inside of Attack on Titan, it does a pretty decent job because your character has
Attack on Titan,
you've got 2 resource symbols, and so you get 2 pools of cards to build from. The question is whenever we look backwards, it gets crazy.
Yeah,
it gets way crazier. And then as you look forward, if resource symbol and resource symbol cards on attacks in your main deck, if resource symbols still exist later in later sets, things stay as complicated. Right?
Yeah, so that takes me to, like, after today, I feel really excited for Attack on Titan Spotlight and for tackling that puzzle. And there seems to be enough there. I mean, it's a 300 card set. It's huge. The cards seem complex enough. That seemed really good. But yeah, as a Gen player, no enhances on attacks. I can't cancel those.
Just let it go.
No. It's the going backwards. It's the looking at standard, right? So, like, there's going to be some characters in standard that get 0 cards in Attack on Titan. We just 0 cards in booster sets for the rest of 2024.
Don't get it.
Genkai is one of them. We just talked about it.
Yeah.
has no symbols that are in the set.
No, there's
Order's in the set. Never mind, I lied.
Yeah.
I can't remember which six.
There's a few.
It's air, life, death, fire, order,
Yeah.
and chaos. No water.
Yeah. So there's gonna be
Yep, no water. There's no water.
There's no evil. I always keep saying evil void water.
They're trying to get to the ocean. There's no water.
There's none of them. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, we're gonna have 4 to 6 characters probably that just get no cards for the rest of 2024. We're gonna have characters like Lady Dagon and Jen where your enhance on an attack cancel just doesn't mean as much anymore. Like, these attacks with huge difficulties, are they gonna matter in standard, or is that just gonna be an Attack on Titan thing? Also in Attack on Titan Spotlight, is the right answer for an optimal competitive deck just gonna be play your 4 diff attacks? That's something I'm worried about. I want to see these big things get in.
Hey, we saw massive difficulty 4 check attacks. Raise your hand if you like that thing that has happened in Attack on Titan.
I miss me in a wall.
You said
I miss me in a wall so much.
High difficulty. This is the first time 4 check attacks.
4 check.
Can we say, if you're neutral about it, don't raise your hand?
Yeah, if you're neutral, don't raise your hand. Because I want to hear from people.
I think I'm so.
Yeah, sure. Here you go.
I think
We'll get back
that
to you as soon as we can.
printing a 13 difficulty attack is a statement. It's a moment where you're saying we're doing this intentionally and we want you to feel something. So when you play that card, let's stop right there. Are you playing that card? We need someone to play that card for that moment to matter. So that card has to matter. And I'm not sure the card we read today achieves that goal. And so if no one plays it, then what it does and how it makes you feel doesn't matter. Now, moving forward, okay, when you play that card, how does it make you feel? Does it make you feel like you've won the game? Does it make you feel like, oh my gosh, how are they dealing with this? You have, what is it, a 7 for 7 that destroys a bunch of stuff.
It flips your whole stage, basically.
It flips 5 of theirs, and if it hits them, they destroy 13 face downs.
Right, yeah. That feels,
I was about to say.
that could feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Could feel pretty good.
Could.
Send them back.
Let's think it.
I don't think anybody's
think
ever
you-
gonna have 13 face downs.
What?
But yeah.
Well, if you flip 5,
Yeah.
Do as much, but you do as much of the deck as possible. So don't have a whole.
It's just, it's interesting. I'm not sure.
Oh man, I just thought of something.
Yeah, my thought about those are like they don't need to necessarily be competitively viable, but a card like that is very aspirational, right? There is going to be a pool of players who look at the card and think, That's me. I want to do that thing.
They're going to do it.
Doesn't matter if it wins the game, if I lose the game after playing it, if I do that to opponent, bam, I've done it. Like, for example, I love Storm of Blades. It's not a good card, but God, that card's so much fun. And it's in that similar vein of, there are people who just are going to love and see a 30 different attacks like that's amazing, I'm doing that thing.
Timmies are important.
Yeah.
You guys think to say?
I had a few things to say. So going back to the attunement, I want to be clear. This is like best case scenario. So I'm a filthy Bandai player. Bandai does this thing for anyone who's watching this and doesn't. Yeah, it's super filthy. Yeah. Where they basically give you your deck, you pick a color, and that color tells you exactly the things that you do. Yeah. Magic does this to some degree with colors, and there are absolutely players that make their whole identity around being a black player or a green player or a red, whatever it is. Like memes about it, clothes, t-shirts, the whole nine, and it's such a good tool for new players if you're coming in to be like, well, I really like, power at any cost. Be like, oh, you're an evil player then. It's such a useful tool. Right now, because everything is triple symbols, identity is pretty loosey-goosey, to put it nicely, and it's kind of hard to put someone on that path. In a best case scenario, in a world where eventually we have all these attune cards and they perfectly represent specifically their symbol identity, and symbol identity becomes a stronger thing, and the guy who goes, yeah, I like playing control decks, I like hurting myself, you can go, here's this evil void character, you play him on evil, you play the void attune cards, and he's like off to the races, and you can do that with just like so much confidence. Again, best case scenario, right? I think that's a great thing. As far as like the 13 difficulty attacks go, I mean, Timmies are important. Like every card we get, that was a one of the rare cards in the set. Like it may not be a banger. I mean, God, what's the Hood 7 difficulty attack we have right now? Yeah, that card's like not a banger either, right? But it's cool. I don't think it has to be. And if you hit your opponent with a 13 difficulty attack, you should win the game on the spot. So I like the idea as a slower control guy of being able to play all these 10, 11, 25 difficulty moves. There wasn't actually a 25.
Sorry. I get Kai's guidance to your 13 death.
Well, that sucks. Hopefully I have the answer for the answer. Wow. Yeah, there are some people.
He wanted to be that person.
So, the reason, I mean, this whole conversation and everything has been like, we've been letting the negative people soundboard, because the very start of this, like, we all had a lot of really super positive, right?
Very.
I think my favorite thing about the 4-check attacks is that the way to play the game pretty much since MHA set 1 has been string decks. Right? This is a really cool space to go to really tall, crazy. I'm gonna play this one attack, this one's gonna matter. Did you block it? Rad, I'll play another one next turn. Did you not block it? I'll destroy you'll sacrifice 13.
Lose.
I'll play 3 foundations and I'll pass.
Right.
And so like this really tall, hey, here's a bomb. Next turn, here's another one. Of this like, every move is a sledgehammer rather than a bunch of 4 difficulty, 5 damage moves, like 3 high for 5s that just like ching. Nah, this one's for 25. Catch.
Which should also speed up the game, right?
Yeah, or at least let you play differently.
Right.
Whether it's competitively or not, you get to play the game differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll see. Like, I'm not negative about these at all. I'm not confident that they will pan out, right? So I don't want to say they're positive, because it could be a thing that 2 years from now, like, yeah, that was a miss, right?
Sure.
I don't mind them doing it. I don't mind them trying it, and we'll see how it goes. To David's point, it could be that we saw some of the characters. It sure seems very reasonable that the best decks in this format could just be more 4 difficulty string decks. But maybe, it's relying a lot on their internal testing, which they only have so many resources. They don't have a future league. They don't know if these are really, really going to be, viable, and a lot of them are stacked at higher rarities, and it could become something that feels like a negative after a little while.
Sure.
But it could be, if it works out, then it's definitely positive.
So the thing that I really think, the way I like to frame this in my head is that one of the major issues that I always identify about universes is the ability to get people in on a casual level. We all, even though I'm probably the least competitive of everyone here, we all do think of the game from a competitive standpoint. And my initial hesitation, I did ultimately raise my hand, but my initial hesitation was because I agree. Genkai's guidance, whatever. There's stuff you're gonna just skip that attack. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me, right? Or just find a way to block it, like whatever. That said, even if they don't pan out competitively, this Timmy factor, these cards are so thematic for Attack on Titan. These are going to resonate with people, and they're going to get people excited just by reading them. Even if they don't have to be competitive players, you don't have to think of a competitive standpoint. They'll read those and go, well, I'm building some Titans. I'm going to build a Titan deck. I'm going to smash with this thing. It's going to be really cool. Is it good? Maybe. Don't care. How much does it matter?
I'm going to do the thing one time and play the game for a year because of it.
So we all were there, we all had questions, and we just bring up the point of us being competitive players. Disregarding drop rate, how do we feel about scaling difficulty characters, and for something I've joked about for the last few months, SR characters?
Scaling rarity, not scaling difficulty.
Yeah, scaling rarity.
Scaling rarity, there we go. Yeah, scaling rarity.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it is great.
Yeah. It is more trade fodder in your binder. You only need, they're not stacking characters. If the secret rare character was, you had to have 4 of it, if it was Kurama as our secret rare character, I'd be livid. It's not, right? You need 1. When I open the second one, there you go, give me $20.
Yeah,
It's that simple.
The
It's
SR character pull rate seemed good. From what
It's-
they were saying, much better than just the other SRs in the set.
Yeah, so I'm going to be a Mega Boomer for a moment. I was thinking about an old card called Saranigiri. That was from one of the sets that I designed. And the intention behind this card was to be a super Johnny card. In the vein of Trinity Geyser, in the vein of Wrath of Heaven, in the vein of Snap Strike, to choose something more recent. Where the Johnny combo players are going to look at this, it's got this really wacky condition, and if you meet it, you get this really big payoff. And that card flopped. It did not really meet its intention. The Johnny players did not get excited about it. And like it had a little bit of spike value, but it just didn't take off the way that I expected it to. And the reason was that the payoff for that card, the thing that you got from meeting the wacky condition was multiple 2, which is a very spike output. It is a very, I'm going to do my thing and I'm going to get this thing that just wins me the game. Does not get the Johnny players really that excited in the same. So I'm worried that this 13 diff, I think maybe 7 mid 7 is not enough compared to like the 8 difficulty moves to get the Timmies actually excited.
Point of clarification, just because we're using very
Yes.
magic terms for people watching who are not familiar with Spike, Timmy, and Johnny, just someone to explain what that is.
I can do that pretty clearly.
Yeah.
Timmy's are your most casual players. They're the guys who they just want to do the cool big thing. Johnny's want to build the really complicated decks. They want to do their own thing. It usually tends to be competitive when they get it going, but not always. But they're trying to be optimal with like a neat combo. And then your spikes are like your competitive sweats. They're the people who are looking at like meta deck lists. Sometimes they don't even do their own deck building. They just copy decks depending on how good of a brewer they are. But these are like your tournament grinders. And
Yeah. So I guess I would say I think 13 difficulty is so high that it's out of Timmy territory and into Johnny territory.
yeah, arguably
Right.
yes.
And the payoff is still a spike, you just win the game payoff. I would have loved to see that card make you take an extra turn. Or something that sparks the imagination.
Oh, I don't know.
I feel like Rune 13 is
I think yeah.
like that's exciting.
I play my giant titan. I flip your board. I destroy your entire stage and leave you with
It's what
nothing.
Titans
So-
do.
It's very yeah.
The big issue with that is it's a 7 mid for 7 on 13. If you've got a mid block, you know this is probably the only attack they're throwing, and it is very blockable. And when you're looking at things like mids anyway, how many blocks do we currently have in the game that are omni blocks that just negate damage?
Yeah. I mean, I really think you're getting into the spike side of it though.
Yeah.
And I think that's not the point.
Yeah, I think the point is that, like, it may be that people don't latch onto this card, but I think it's a reasonable bet to take off. Let's do this big, crazy, mad thing, and people might like it or not. And I think that's part of, like, the overarching theme of everything that's come across here is they're taking lots of bets, right? And they're hoping that more pay off than don't. Like, you know, the 1 symbol with 2 symbol characters and the tune stuff, that's a bet they're taking. Blitz is a bet they're taking. These huge attacks is a bet they're taking. The rare characters, like the character rarity thing, is a bet they're taking. I mean, personally, that's probably one thing I'm the least confident in, and in terms of my personal like of them, is like the character rarity thing, but that's maybe just a personal thing. But they're taking lots of these bets with the hope that more of them pay off than don't, and any ones that don't, then they'll just say, okay, we just don't do that anymore, right?
I'll be fast. So like for me personally, I'm a Johnny, but just like a little tinge of spike. They're not like perfect wedges. So I look at cards like what we got showed today, the Colossus Ray card, and like for me, you're right. I do see it, and I'm like, how do I play this card without actually needing to commit 10 foundations if I check it 3? You're right. That's the first thing I think of. A Timmy looks at that and goes, oh, it destroys my opponent's stage. Like the card fits in both realms, and it may not end up being super competitive. And honestly, I mean, we haven't seen the set, so I don't know, but it probably isn't. Like, but that's okay. They're trying to appeal to different kinds of players. Universes has a history of being a very tight knit but very competitive, smart. This is what we call spikes. There's not a lot of room historically for Timmys or Johnnies, and unfortunately, those are a lot of the people who drive sales. Like they drive local communities. It's the truth. Like,
Unfortunately, was the fucking.
oh yeah. Well, yeah.
I guess unfortunately,
Yeah.
I guess we have to have those other people.
The point here is we don't have those, which is like the thing that they're trying to address and the
That's
thing that
the
they're trying to solve. That's the.
I would push back a little bit. I think there's always been a lot of room for Johnnies in this game. I think there's a lot of players that are here to do weird, wacky, memey stuff, and there's a lot of deck building expression and room to do that. I think Timmy's, you're right, that there's not been a lot of space for Timmy's, and by and large, it's because, and this is something Blitz kind of solves a little bit, is a Timmy wants to play, my 8 speed, 15 damage move, and then your opponent blocks it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's very hard for a Timmy to have fun in this game because when you make the big thing, it can just get shut down so easily. And Blitz will help with this, and the design of this particular 13 diff at least does something when you play it.
It blitzes the flip 5,
Yeah.
which gets rid of a lot of your counterplay to it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
When you talked about Looming Terror before,
I did.
oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, someone was.
Shock when you talked about Looming Terror.
Yeah, that one time.
what is it? The little thing in my head reminded me that I was really trying to make Gentle Criminal Looming Terror work with it. He makes it cheaper.
Yeah.
And then my head just went, well, we could do that with the Attack on Titan and things and go, here's a big damage attack, block it, and then you just go, now we can make it even cheaper.
Yeah, there's stuff you can do, definitely.
Yeah, just one note on we talk about they're making bets and they hope more are going to pay off than not. But just to be clear, they made a lot of points about why they're making the bets. There's reasons why every single thing all the choices that they're making are being made. So it's like what were we talking about at the time? Dang it.
Looming Terror.
Yes,
you
probably
brought it up.
Looming. Yeah, we're never going to play Looming Terror because the card sucks. We wanted this.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about the coolest thing for me.
Yeah.
Started off.
Backups.
Yeah.
Backups are so
I was gonna
awesome.
that up.
Raise your hand if you like backups.
I'm gonna do
I'm
super excited about these.
Hit me why you don't like backups.
Okay, so the backup that we saw, the Smiley,
We saw a
right?
couple.
It's
We saw a lot of backups, and I like the idea of getting to attack a powerful foundation type, asset type resource in your stage and take it off, because it helps your turn if hey, I wasn't going to be able to deal damage, but since they can't block an attack against a backup, I can at least play an attack and kill a backup, and I did something productive on my turn, even though I didn't deal damage. My worry is that with the Smiley thing, right? The Smiley Titan, sorry.
Yeah.
It was an HP sponge, and all of these characters already have high HP. And I was reading the attacks, and I wasn't sure if these attacks are going to keep up with the health size of these characters. And then if you're adding on these side quests that you have to attack, and the Smiley forces you to attack it, that's something I'm a little trepidatious about. Is the HP sponges.
I definitely, I'll piggyback off of that. That was my thing. I like the new idea, right? It's like an idea of something. It's fresh, it's different, right? And then it mitigates damage, right? Because the thing about the backups, because I know a lot of us were trying not to read them, but I ain't gonna lie, I was reading some. Some of them have some busted effects, scary effects to where you have to get rid of that. If you don't, oh my gosh, I read one and I was like, whoa, oh my gosh. So like I said, it's neat because it does change it, but the concern, the health of some of these characters, where you got characters that got I mean, you know, we saw a lot of characters with like 30 plus health. And you're like, okay, interesting. And then the way some of these attacks are throwing or whatever, you're hoping that it does massive amount of damage. That it does. It's like, okay, are we trying to kill? Or are we just, oh, this is neat, but games end up still panning out because they said they wanted to see games go about 15, 20 minutes. I don't know based on that, so.
So I hear what you guys are saying, and there's definitely a world where your concerns are reality. The counterpoint, and there's a single rule they told us about backups that made me think that may not pan out. And it's that if you attack a backup, your opponent gets an enhanced step, but they don't get the block. They have to eat it. So depending on the cards that we see that check for things dealing damage, and we just talked about
and it's
13,
not mandatory, right?
Yeah,
they're not mandatory either. That you don't have to. I mean, sorry, the damage doesn't carry over to either.
Yeah, you just get right over. But take like we just talked about the 13 difficulty, like 7/7. If you hit a backup with that, I think that card just says it deals
It
damage.
specifically says deals damage to an opponent.
That one says opponent. Okay.
But Tasty Rev.
Yeah, cards that say they
But
deal
Tasty
damage.
Rev.
Yeah, they don't get to unless they have a way. Unless they have a way to drop the damage down, you can farm them for like on damage attacks. They have to readjust the rules when those come out. So theoretically, they can make it so when you hit it, that gives you momentum. Momentum turns into attacks that hit the opponent later. Like, depending, yeah. Like
They said a massive rules update is coming.
So it's
so
theoretically
we
possible.
might not know.
Yeah, well, okay, right now we don't know.
I'm gonna call Tim.
Yeah, I'm just saying the possibility is there. So there's a world where that totally happens. There's also a world where it doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's the usual.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, I played Magic a while back, and I was never a big fan of Planeswalkers being that massively impactful, but I knew what their place. And bringing them into the game, especially in a way that you're not really paying costs for them. A lot of them just build when they clear from the card pool, or some build after blocks and stuff like that. So it's not like assets that we have to actually pay the cost to get them down. And then you've got this new entity you've got to deal with where outside of attacking time there's probably not going to be any ways to deal with it, because in Magic you have got instants and damage spells you can use to just keep chipping away. You have to dedicate your attacks, and if you're playing say a 5-hander, you're not going to have as many resources, and we're now seeing more 6-handers going into 5-hander health territory. It feels kind of like they're phasing out 5-handers and making them less and less relevant unless they are pseudo 7-handers. To go back to the point you guys made there, it makes on damage or non-blocked effects a lot more powerful. I mean, we got in a massive argument during our tier list about Midnight 2 being absolutely playable, but if you've got some backups then I can just freeze your entire goddamn board.
Yeah, that does make that character a lot better.
Wow,
Yeah.
And how it interacts with that.
But I think, if I'm not mistaken though, I don't think you can build the backups during black. I think it said during your.
No,
there's one of them.
I'll be very fast, Dan. Like even pushing back on that though, like if I remember correctly, Lady Smiles was a 6-diff attack. You play that on turn 2 and check a 3, and you're paying a lot to get your Planeswalker. Like
counterpoint, how many times have you played Titaneclef when you've only got 3 foundations and it's a 6 check?
4 because you're committing 3 constantly if it's the deck that I'm playing, and I have a target to build.
Got it. So I have a few things to say about these. As someone with a lot of experience with a lot of different card games, the first thing I want to mention is a very, very particular point. If I remember correctly, and I don't know if none of us have a picture or anything, but the Smiling Titan was a form ability that forced it to be attacked, and it builds at the end of turn when you shift it. You have a whole turn to do whatever the hell you want before you have to worry about being forced to attack it. The form ability also costs a health off of it, a tick down. So if you really want to just turtle up or whatever, you can't do it forever. Eventually the thing goes away. But despite that, there are you can bet there are going to be effects that say destroy target backup or whatever.
Yeah,
that's going to be a thing in there. If that's really a problem, just like we already deal with assets and everything, there's a bunch of stuff to do. I have more things to say, but let me let you jump in.
So as you're talking about backups and there's only 1 or 2. There is the Beast Titan whose entire identity is around filling your board with too much to mimic. And I look at it, I was like, that's going to be crazy.
He's going to be annoying.
And
I have more points, but I
Yeah,
won't.
my gut take on backups is I am disappointed that there are still assets in this set. Right. I think.
Assets?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
I heard
I think
asses, and I was like,
this is a better card type than asset.
Yep.
Because you do not need specific backup hate to deal with these. You need specific asset hate to deal with assets. And assets are only barely different from foundations, and backups are much more substantially different from foundations.
That's fair.
and assets don't punch you in the mouth.
So
Yeah.
the other thing I want to talk about with regards to backup, and this I know a number of people here have Magic experience, or some people have Dragon Ball Super experience, and I'm sorry for that.
Every time you go, it's all
Yeah,
right.
you got it. You got a little jab in there, but historically, those planeswalkers and planeswalker type cards often have looked a lot more impactful than they play. There are going to be situations where your opponent's going to put in a couple of backups, and you're going to go. I mean, this is universes. They're going to go, oh, I just have lethal, and just like kill you, and I don't even care what you have in play. I don't need to attack it because you just die instead. There's going to be situations like that where they're going to be
fragile
impactful.
assets. They're assets that are easier to get rid of and might have powerful abilities.
Yep, and it's your choice whether or not you want to attack them. Smiling Titan is the one. Yeah, you have to attack it, but again, it's a
You
form
attack it
attack.
once you deal 5, it's gone.
Yep. So I don't think I'm particularly concerned about their meta impact. I agree it's a possibility. I'm not going to rule it out, but I think they look like they'll be. The big thing is a shakeup to just how the game plays. Another new mix-up, like.
I mean, well,
How many people were complaining like I don't want to go to locals. I'm dated here, but I'm gonna go to locals. There's Tokiyami everywhere. I just don't want to deal with Tokiyami or anything. That was back in the day, right? But like that was my meta too. Like I was tired of some people who were grinding Tokiyami for regionals or whatever. Like it was the same. And if they weren't playing that, it was another deck that had the exact same play pattern. I like things that are like, well, you know what? This is kind of weird. This is kind of different. This is going to create different scenarios that we get to see and experience. And one more thing. And in particular, I like the inclusion of backups because they allow the company to show characters joining the board. And more importantly, you open a pack and you get to see a thing that has a character on it in a way that isn't just putting more characters in the game or doing weird asset thing. I'm not a big asset fan either. So who wants this next? You two share it.
Yeah.
Okay, same time.
Yeah.
As you're saying just then with the locals grinding the really competitive decks, do you think if unfortunately we didn't have OP as we all said, but if OP was more making a drive to make locals more casual, because at the minute we've got local qualified stock championships, locals feels very competitive and people feel like they have to grind these decks. If there was more of a drive to make it more casual, would that make it better for you to sort of propose bringing these more Timmy decks?
What tournament are you talking about?
I play weird. I was playing Ingenium.
I
play weird stuff. Sometimes I didn't really care. I played Ingenium into Tokiyami. I lost.
Are you talking about
but it was
You're talking
fun.
to Dabby guy.
Yeah.
Are you talking about weeklies?
Yeah, just more casual.
The regular. Okay, you're talking about the regular local.
I mean, I'm gonna jam Titan decks, even if there's some of those attacks are bad. I'm gonna have fun with it. I legitimately just think it looks like a fun time.
I think
That's
Yeah.
what local should be.
Yeah.
like backups look really cool, right? And they're a really cool design space. Like Eri could have been a backup, or Koto, is it Koto? Yeah, he could have been a backup, right?
It practically is.
Yeah, and obviously again it's a new design space, and going back to the Planeswalker analogy, yes, they're sort of mini Planeswalkers, and I think when Planeswalkers first got released in Magic, everyone hated the idea, and now everyone fucking loves Planeswalkers, right? And if that can have that similar effect here of everyone likes the idea of, okay, I get to build down these things, and I'm sure there's other IPs you could probably, I can't off the top of my head think of where
I think
you could do with cool backup stuff, I don't know.
Imagine you are playing as a Midoriya that cares about backups, and all of the cards in his set are backups. All of his attacks are, and they're students from 1A.
Yeah, the students are winning or vestiges. There's some really cool flavors.
There's some really cool things that you can do by getting the squads here.
Big
Right?
agree.
We're not allowed to stack different character cards.
constantly
Now
wanna say
we
on
can.
Big agree.
well, that was where I was getting ready to just go just real briefly. And that right there, the idea of backups gives you the idea of the tag battles, right? Like you know, how, you know, team 1A, team 1B, right? I got, you know, Kendo over here, and, you know, I don't know, right? We don't know if that's where they're gonna go with it, but the possibilities in universes and doing that are pretty endless. And without mentioning other things that they reveal to us, there are certain IPs that could possibly allow that to flourish too. So anyways, I think
No, I'm not allowed to say what I was going to say. I'll bring it up afterwards.
don't you say it.
Yeah,
You don't say it.
We're gonna move on from
Yes.
abilities.
Yeah.
We're done.
Can I ask a question, not about abilities, but my next topic? We got to see the art and the level of detail that Zoe and the team have put into the art, and it's similar to the signatures with the little chibi Mikasa. Going off the way Tam's done this, hands up, who's excited for these new card styles?
Okay.
Oh my goodness!
All right, can I take that one? Oh, well, after you.
So
I'll go after you.
I knew all our hands were gonna be up.
Yeah.
I got
Here's
you.
what we're going to do.
You know I'm a sucker.
You have 20 to 30 seconds to pitch a thing that somebody hasn't said about the art.
Yeah.
And we're gonna all have unique answers, right? So toss it to somebody random.
Okay.
Right? I'll start with Shock.
Okay.
Toss it to somebody random. You got 30 seconds, man.
There's color and it's good. Y'all thought it was gonna be harsh and horrible and scary. It looks dope. Go look at it right now. Y'all got it. All right,
Toss it to somebody.
So speaking of color, I like how because it's manga and it was all black and white, they had a lot of choices as to how they colored it in, artistic wise, and the way they did it was the background matches your symbol. So if it's an air card, it's gonna have the blue background. If it's a chaos card, it's gonna have the pink background. And that just really makes your deck feel like, going back to the symbol identities, I play a chaos air deck, my cards are pink and blue. I like that.
It's cool.
Yeah. Helps Timmy.
All right, I was gonna say that. So that's really sick. The alt arts and the high rarity chase cards are absolutely insane in this set, and I have been somewhat critical of some of the other sets. I don't just say that about everything. I was extremely impressed with what they did.
The texture.
They did a texture foil with the UV spot gloss on some of the
He had his turn.
This dude couldn't even handle the texture foil spot.
No, I couldn't.
And you can talk about it.
You said,
Pretend
I mean,
I
he
didn't
was
say
talking
it.
about texture.
Pretend I didn't say it. Pretend I didn't say it.
Okay, he didn't say
Yeah.
nothing. No, I'll just tell you 10 seconds. So, I don't know where I was, but yes, the art, everything else, the way it was shining, the way, the glimmer, the art style, everything about it just pops. It makes you look forward to pulling these cards. No matter what, it makes you, you just want to. You don't even have to play, you'll take it.
I'm pretty sure if we search your pockets, there's a Levi in there.
Shh, don't tell Zoe.
I'm gonna put it like this. I have either played or followed Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Masters, One Piece, Digimon, Legend of the Five Rings, L5R when FFG picked it up, Netrunner when for FFG, and I might be skipping a card game or two. Oh, and Grand Archive. Best cards I've seen, period. Out of like, just period.
That was nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most beautiful cards I've seen in this game, hands down. Possibly, like, as you say, in any card game. But I think one thing that really came across, and I think has done sometimes, maybe not so much as we saw today, was just the passion that Zoe has for it, and like the amazing work she's doing. Like,
Infectious.
It was a really, really cool day overall. But for me, her section was the highlight of just how passionate she is about
The
this.
excitement on her face.
Yeah, nailing this stuff, and not only for the Attack on Titan stuff, but for the rest of the stuff coming forward, and everything she wants to do. Like, even just little things of like, she's not happy with that font style. Like, it does the thing, but she wants to get that right, and then just look not only at the bigger pictures of like you were saying with the colours, but it's looking at this tiny as well. And I think from a design standpoint, it could be in better hands.
Yeah, I'm just going to completely rip off of Travis and his show. Travis did a show about universes a couple weeks ago, and one of the things he said was that Zoe is better at her job than anybody has any business being at their job.
Yeah.
And I think everyone here felt that today.
Yeah, she was fantastic.
So the thing that I wanted to talk about was we didn't talk about the Pearl or the Obsidian rares at all. And the cool thing about those is those are an Attack on Titan exclusive. And Zoe said that there's going to be a different cool thing in more sets. Pearl Obsidian is an Attack on Titan thing, and they're going to do another thing. They're pushing the envelope of what's the cool next thing that they're going to do to make the art bigger and better. And you can really tell that, like, again, huge flowers to her. She's not okay coasting.
Yeah.
She understands you can't coast uphill, and she only wants to drive uphill. It's incredible.
Perfectly, my point follows on from you there, where you can, Zoe showed us and explained in great detail how they went to lengths to make sure we knew this was manga, not anime, with the names of cars like Colossus rather than Colossal, and then you've got the manga styling in the lines, you've got the panel for the uncommons, you've got the page for the rares, and then the ultra rare, the secret rares are posters. It just feels like so much love and care went into it, and how much went into to make this a manga feeling set as opposed to anime.
Posters with the card names in Japanese as well as English, which is super T.
And the
That's
signatures on the chase cards that the author hadn't signed anything in like 6 years, and they got him to do it.
Yeah,
that
signed
And the manga style alt art URs, which is like the grayed out manga manga page styles, which you went above and above making us know this is manga Attack on Titan, and we have drawn so much from the manga.
And disclaimer, I mean, like some may have to get used to the switch, right? The art style is a little different, right? It is different,
Right.
but it's special because knowing the story behind it, who he is, what it is. It's like, oh no, well I appreciate it, right?
The reverence, the reverence for the source material.
Right, and just saying that to the audience that that's watching, like some of y'all might get a little like when we're talking about art.
We made a lot of comments to them this weekend, and I imagine they're going to take some of this away. They should be doing things, and hopefully you've seen this before this video comes out, they should be doing things like take Zoe's presentation, record it, and post it to their YouTube.
Yeah.
It was really good. And give her a pay raise.
If you want more of our thoughts, you can find it on our individual channels. Thank you guys for watching.
Can I
this
ask one
video
last question
so
before I
much.
go?
Absolutely not.
No.
We are going to, in the description, there will be links to everybody's YouTube channel from anybody who's editing this video. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight. I really appreciate it.
Gotta go to sleep.
We'll see you all next time.
Thanks so much. Yeah, you guys killed.